Good morning. I'm Martina Stump, the Post-Secondary Readiness and Transition Coordinator for Tennessee Department of Education. I want to welcome you to the virtual PI pre-conference, Passport to the Future. Preparing students for further education, employment, and independent living is the primary outcome that we work to achieve in special education. While all students need guidance in order to make that leap from high school to next steps, students with disabilities, however, need even more help because their leap is that much greater. Without this guidance, these students often fail or flounder in high school and beyond. Transition services provided by knowledgeable educators and community resources offer students with disabilities hope for the future. The national statistics are encouraging, with the latest data showing an increase in the percentage of students with disabilities graduating from high school, and Tennessee's most recent Indicator 14 data showing more students with disabilities entering higher education and competitively employed than last year. Our efforts to improve transition planning and ultimately improve post-secondary outcomes for students with disabilities are paying off, and we need to maintain our focus on creating relevant and well-designed transition plans, which are critical to ensuring students have access to the instruction, work experiences, and the supports that they need. Our pre-conference transition day is designed to promote and foster a collaborative approach with equipping educators, school administrators, VR professionals, service providers, family members, and others with the tools and strategies to prepare young people with disabilities for life after high school. Outside supports like VR play an important role in the transition planning process, and accessing these and other community resources is vital to success. My hope is you leave today feeling empowered and encouraged with a better understanding of the resources and strategies to prepare students with disabilities for adult life. An effective transition program and supports can pave the way to make a more successful and fulfilling future for all students with disabilities.
Good morning, everyone. While I wish we can all see one another and be gathered together in person, we are also very grateful for the opportunity to at least be with each other virtually behind our computer screens for this day that is focused on transition and improving post-school outcomes for youth with disabilities. My name is Rachel Jenkins. I'm an educational consultant with Transition Tennessee, and today I have the pleasure of introducing our keynote panel speakers. But before we get to the panel, I want to share some information about our project, some upcoming opportunities, and talk a little bit about today's conference. Transition Tennessee is a partnership between Vanderbilt University, the State Department of Education, the Vanderbilt Kennedy Center, and the State Vocational Rehabilitation Program. Our goal is to improve post-school outcomes for youth and young adults with disabilities. Our website, transitiontn.org, has 3 sections for 3 different audiences: educators, providers, and students. We also provide trainings, webcasts, we host virtual transition fairs, and we work collaboratively with school districts to improve their transition programming. I want to show you a brief video that shares a little bit more about our project and how to navigate our site. Welcome to Transition Tennessee. Helping students transition successfully to adulthood is a primary purpose of special education. We have created this free and unique online resource to equip educators and providers with the tools they need to deliver exceptional transition services and supports for students with disabilities. And we've even developed a section of our website for students to use directly so they can explore the world of work and post-secondary education. Each section includes a rich array of strategies, resources, and ideas. Short, engaging video lessons focus on best practices related to each topic. Examples illustrate how these practices might be implemented with students. Videos demonstrate how these practices are being applied across the state, and downloadable resources provide helpful tools for carrying out this work. In addition to the courses, our site provides access to trainings, webcasts, transition fairs, and other forums on cutting-edge transition topics. These events feature transition experts alongside Tennessee educators and programs. On the site, you can also watch archived virtual events and register to be a part of upcoming live events. To get started, your first step is to choose your role and register. All resources on our site are free, but you will need to create an account to access them. No matter which role you choose, you will be able to access the entire site. On your profile, you can track your progress in courses and obtain certificates of completion. And you'll be the first to learn about new resources or upcoming events through our e-newsletter. After you've created an account, you're ready to begin exploring. Sign up now to discover new practices, resources, strategies, and ideas to improve outcomes for youth and young adults with disabilities. If you want to learn more about our project, there are a couple sessions I'd suggest from today's conference. One provides an overview of the entire project, including an in-depth look at all the resources on the site. It's called Transition Tennessee Project, a Blueprint for Student Success. And then there's another one focused specifically on our student site. Now, our student site is our most recent addition, and we are really excited about this resource. Students can choose interactive lessons based on whether they want to go to work or further education after high school. It can be used independently by students or with the guidance of an instructor. It's adaptable to different learning environments, and it can be used in synchronous or asynchronous learning. So for much more information on this specific resource, check out the session, Transition Tennessee's website for students. Let me take a moment now to encourage your involvement in an important statewide survey led by the Vanderbilt Kennedy Center and the Tennessee Council on Developmental Disabilities. They are trying to figure out better ways of connecting teachers, providers, and families with the resources and help needed to support people with disabilities to access all the good things their community has to offer. But they need your help. We all know how hard it can be to find good information. This study will help disability organizations and projects, including ours, learn what you and your families need. Many of you have already participated in this survey, but there are still many counties that are not yet represented, and many families whose voices have not yet been heard. So here's how you can help. You can share the link on the screen with families you know or work with in your community, or you can take the survey yourself and share it with colleagues in the field. Everyone completing the survey can request free resources and be entered into a drawing for one of 100 gift cards that are $20 each. So we hope you will participate. The website is tndisabilitysurvey.org. So that's a little bit about who we are and an opportunity that you might be interested in. Now let's talk about today and what you'll find on the virtual platform. We have a mix of pre-recorded on-demand sessions and live sessions. Just a reminder, you can access those on-demand sessions whenever you would like during the conference. Those presentations I just referenced a couple slides ago about Transition Tennessee are both available on demand. There are numerous live 50-minute breakout sessions. These occur at 10:20, 11:30, 1:20, and 2:30, and all those are in Central Time. All the live sessions will be recorded, so you can access them throughout the conference, even if you don't attend live. I also want to direct you to the virtual exhibit hall. There's a special section for transition supports and partners. Representatives from those agencies will be live during the lunch hour from 12:20 to 1:20, again, Central Time, to respond to your questions on chat. You're welcome to visit them whenever you want during the conference to read more about the programs, to download flyers or additional information, but they will be live to interact with you on chat during lunch. In addition to those 50-minute breakout sessions, we are also offering some special workshops. These will be longer sessions. They'll be around 90 minutes. They are designed to delve more deeply into a topic and include a lot of interaction with other participants and the presenters. There is one on becoming a critical consumer of curriculum and assessment, one on Tennessee's new Center for Decision Making. There's a pre-ETS workshop, and then there's a session on lessons learned from COVID-19. So I'd encourage you to check those out. There are attendance caps on many of those, but portions of them will be recorded to view afterwards if you can't get in live. So with all that being said, I think I'm now ready to introduce our panel. If you attended the Passport to the Future conference last year, our keynote panel will look very familiar. We were able to bring back almost all our speakers from last year. Our panelists are parents of individuals with disabilities. Their children are at all different stages of the transition process. Last year, they shared their experiences with transition, from middle school transition to inclusive higher education to competitive employment. Now, last year's conference was late January of 2020. And as we all know, of course, less than 2 months later, virtual school began to be implemented, lockdowns and quarantines began to happen, and all of our lives changed and were impacted by the pandemic. So in thinking about how to open this year's conference, considering what a crazy, unique, and really challenging year it's been, we thought it would be interesting to hear from our family members. We wanted to get an update on how COVID had impacted their family, but also get their perspective and advice for teachers, providers, and others, and learn how they've adapted during this time. We know that collaborating with families is always important, but the importance of that has been emphasized this past year when we've all been learning and working remotely. So they graciously allowed us to Zoom into their homes and meet with their families. I'm going to kick things off by sharing a video introduction. This video was filmed pre-COVID, and we actually played it before their panel last year. But I think it serves as a great introduction, especially for those of you who didn't attend last year. And then we'll dive into some questions.
Setting goals.
Prepares.
Planning.
Coordination.
Maximizes.
Communication.
Identifies.
And observing.
When Abigail started in kindergarten back at New Prospect School, you do not think about the time when it's going to come time for her to be a senior and actually graduate from high school, because it's so far off. But all of a sudden you turn around and she's 19 years old. So here's the time. And so it's so important for, as far as teachers talking with families about transitioning, so important to start that early.
I think communication is paramount between the parent and the young adult and the school system and the young adult, because it's important to listen to what the person needs that he or she may not be able to say or to articulate.
Teachers can support families being a strong advocate for their child by inviting them to come and talk to them on a regular basis.
My daughter's teacher, Mr. Fox, helps me become a better advocate by communicating. We talk in the morning, when I bring her in. We talk in the afternoon. He lets me know how her day has gone, and what goals that he set for her that he wants me to help him with, for her to succeed in the school, to participate in extracurricular activities, to run for SGA president, to be in the Honor Society. So he's always setting goals for her and letting me know how I can help him in any way to pursue those goals. I have waited a lifetime to have a teacher like this. We are a team. There's no I. He and I are truly a team. We work together.
The first thing that comes to mind is just sharing information. I have this huge stack of documents that I'm working through that I've printed off of Transition Tennessee, that I've printed off the state website on diploma options and on alternate academic assessments. There's so much information. And often as parents, we don't know what our choices are, so we don't know to look for information because we don't know that there's choices. And so the very first thing is just helping educate parents on what are the options, how can we piece this together. Once that process gets going, we can take it and run with it, and we can be huge contributors to the process.
Teachers do so much, and they're asked to do so much, and they always deliver on doing so much. So in some ways I think, gosh, how can we ask teachers to do any more than what they're doing? But I think having a sensitive ear to what the student needs and what the student may need but is unable for whatever reason to say that person needs.
You really have to know the student. What are their strengths? What are the challenges they're going to face? What levels of support will they need? Do they need support getting started in the FADE, or are we looking at full-time support, and how do we put all this together for a positive outcome for each student?
Mr. Fox is open to suggestions, and I'll give an example. He is very good about setting up my daughter's communication device and programming it. He's better than me, but he was open to the rep coming in and allowed himself to be trained to be successful at this, and it's really paid off in the end.
So one thing that I would really encourage teachers to do is to look up in your community, look up organizations that have community events for people with disabilities and attend those events, because that is a strong way to get the communication going between teachers and parents.
The school has embraced this, not just the teachers, it's not just the students. I mean, even with the district is starting to embrace it. They're asking us to come out and speak on this. Transitioning is big. We're setting them up for their future.
My job, I think, as a parent is more as a coach right now, and it's not to be sure that he can support himself, that's going to be hard to do, but that he feels like he has a place in the world and he is contributing to the world. So that's what I want to be sure, that he is in a job that's not too small for his soul, and a job that he feels is worth doing and that others feel is worth doing.
Can you introduce yourselves and your family?
Hello, my name is Tommy Lee Kidd, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Abigail Kidd.
And I am Lisa Kidd.
And we are from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. We are so happy to be here today.
My name is Robin Lampley, and we live in Dixon County. And this is my son.
Hello, I am James Duffy. I am in 9th grade, and I am 15 years old, and I am in
Dixon County High School.
Yes.
There you go.
James, how do you like high school so far?
High school is good for me because I got good teachers and a good place for me to learn and to talk to my friends.
Hello, my name is Josh Tuckson.
My name is Mackenzie Tuckson. I am a senior at the amazing White Creek High School.
And my name is Tamara Tuckson, and Mackenzie and I are advocates for individuals with exceptional needs.
Can you share how the pandemic has impacted your family this year?
Well, my first part of my answer is going to be, you can actually look at my physical appearance and see some of how COVID has affected our family. I have a lot more hair than what you all saw last year on my face and on my head. Not that I have a lot on my head anyway. And I have quite a bit more weight on me as well. So COVID has affected us not only in other ways, but physically, me personally, physically as well. COVID has been a challenge for everybody. We have been challenged here in our small town of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. We've had many friends affected directly by COVID. We go to a small church here. Well, actually, a fairly large church here in Lawrenceburg, but we've been affected at our church, and all of our other friends at their churches have been affected. Lisa actually has a beauty salon here in Lawrenceburg. She has been dramatically affected by COVID. It's just affected our entire lives. One thing that has affected with Abigail is Abigail has not been she has some underlying heart conditions from when she was born and some other health-related conditions as well. So Lisa and I made the decision early on that we were going to have to be very, 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 very careful as far as letting Abigail get exposed to the COVID virus. So we have been very careful. We wear a mask everywhere we go. I even go to the extent of wearing gloves. If I have to go anywhere, I have plastic gloves that I wear. If Abigail goes with me anywhere she goes, through the bank drive-thru or anything, we always wear a mask and things. So we've been very careful.
When I thought about that question, really three things come to mind. First of all, educationally, with James's education, It's been so hard. I mean, last year they were out of school for what? March, April, May, 3 months. They didn't go to school. And then this year, it hasn't been that bad till we did have to go virtual. And so when he's home doing the classes, number one, for him, learning online doesn't work very well. But also, he has to have assistance to get it hooked up, and he has to have assistance if there's, a change in plans, or let's do this, or let's do that. So I have to sort of be on board the whole time he's there. So scheduling with my work and his schooling is a challenge. But then also the homework and the actual teaching starts to fall on me. And I can work with James to reinforce what he knows, and we can practice, and we can do memory work. But to try to teach, especially like a new math skill, he's in algebra, and trying to teach some of those concepts is really, really hard. And that's one thing we talk about openly. Which teacher do you like better? Do you like Dr. Williams or Mom? Who's the best teacher?
Dr. Williams.
Dr. Williams is a much better teacher. Who's the best teacher, your sister Megan or your mom?
My sister.
Yeah. So we often bring Megan into the picture to say, can you work with James on his homework? Because it's not it's not really my wheelhouse, and it's a challenge to have to fill in. So we are thankful when he's actually in person in school, which blessedly we've been most of this school year. The second thing that came to mind was socially. This has been really hard because James has lots of friends at school, and there's lots of things he does and enjoys. And like I said, when we got out of school in the spring, he was running track, and that came to a screeching halt. And that was a big deal. Practice every day, track meets. And then this year with the, after school you come home, I know kids are finding a way to connect. They text, and they, they're on Snapchat, and they're all the way kids are together. In reality, when James is with his friends, a lot of his participation is the being together. It's not that he's the conversationalist. It's not the one that's got, the cool news to share. And so when everything has gone verbal, it's really hard for him to plug in. And so he's home, and he's happy, and he's busy, and he has lots of things he enjoys. But as I watch his life, he's alone a lot. And so that's very hard, and I've missed that. I've missed all his time with his peers. And then the third thing that came to mind that was actually a positive of the year is the way the school schedule works. High school is insane. Every student has like a different schedule. And I know my daughter has always gone to school early. She hangs out with friends for 15, 20, 30 minutes before school and after school and lunchtime. And with COVID, that had to stop. Bus riders come first, car riders drop off next. Megan and James, who drive themselves to school, are not allowed to arrive till last, and they go straight to homeroom. And then everybody's schedule is very uniform because there's no time hanging out in the halls. They go get their lunches, and they bring them back to their classrooms. You don't go sit with your friends, you sit with your class. So all of this structure has been great for James, because schedules were easy for him to memorize. He's just got two. He's got an orange day and a blue day. We bought orange masks and black and blue masks. And he lays it all out every night, and he goes to school, and he was independent within like a week of school starting, and everything has been so simple. So I wouldn't choose that, but I have to recognize it's really made his first year at high school a lot easier.
So we have been, as everybody has, we've been affected by the COVID virus. But we haven't let it dampen our spirits. We're still positive about everything. And, it's one of those things you just change the way you live for a little while. And it's just been a different sort of lifestyle for us.
Abigail, I heard you set up your own apartment in your home. Can you share about that?
COVID has, I guess you could say, it has catapulted Abigail's independence, because she has wanted to have her own apartment. A lot of her friends have gone off to college and have got their own apartments. So she wanted to have her own apartment. So she has her own apartment here in the house. And she is learning independence through her apartment. And she pretty much does everything by herself.
That was my dad's office.
That was my office, but I was a very nice dad and gave it to her for her apartment. You got a kitchenette, and she's got a kitchenette in her apartment as well. And what do you have in that kitchenette?
Well, I got my Aunt Polly's thing in there.
Right. You got your Aunt Polly's thing, but you got a microwave.
Microwave, a refrigerator with a foldable top.
And a refrigerator. And you got a toaster.
A toaster.
And a
coffee maker.
Coffee maker, a Keurig coffee maker. And most of those things are pink. Just about everything is pink.
Can you talk a little bit more about other independent living skills Abigail has been working on during the pandemic?
She has learned to cook through this COVID virus. So that is a good thing that Abigail has learned. She's learned how to cook through this COVID virus. She fixes my coffee for me every morning. She fixes my breakfast for me every morning and brings it to me in my home office here. So that is a good thing.
The COVID really impacted Mackenzie's schooling, first of all, because she's so social. She's very social. So as she said in her introduction, she was lonely. And she couldn't understand how all of a sudden everything was just cut off.
Boo.
Right. Mackenzie's senior class president, and she is a varsity cheerleader, and she's also in the honor society, and she's the first ambassador for Metro Public Schools. So she was active. She was always active in the community or at a game, and everything just came to a halt.
And Mackenzie too, like going to football games, she looked around, there's nobody in the stands. She's like, there's no fans. Yeah, because the culture of the cheerleading culture, just the school culture, just kind of just took a dive, and it was a challenge for her. But then she began to still be able to enjoy cheerleading. That was the main thing. She was still able to cheer, and the only thing about it was that she loves the fans too. So that's what she out there doing it for.
This year was a challenge. I was lonely and couldn't understand why life was so different. I was fortunate to have an amazing academy coach, Miss Littlejohn, that allowed me to represent the school in a leadership role.
Can you talk a little bit about the ambassador program Mackenzie is involved in?
Yes, so Mackenzie is the first ambassador for Metro Davidson County Schools, first ambassador with exceptional needs. So Mackenzie was fortunate enough to go and do an introduction through Zoom for the new ambassadors that are coming in, and she wanted to let them know what it was like and what to expect.
My name is Mackenzie Tuxen, and I'm an advocate for individuals who have exceptional needs. I am an ambassador at the amazing Whites Creek High School. I am a fourth-year varsity cheerleader and senior class president. I am the first nonverbal student who has been an ambassador. I am going to tell you what being a student ambassador is all about. As an ambassador, we are responsible for welcoming prospective students and their families, as well as visitors, to Whites Creek High School. We are the leaders and give tours. We are public speakers and travel around Nashville to represent our school. Student ambassadors are carefully selected based on grades, personality, character, communication skills, and enthusiasm. This is a job that has to be earned. It is not just given. Being a student ambassador is a deeply rewarding opportunity that I have greatly enjoyed. At Whites Creek High School, I have been given many opportunities that will help me transition to college while being a role model for individuals with exceptional needs. I would like to say congratulations. You have the unique privilege of leading your schools through an unexpected time in history. I am sure you all will do great, and do not forget to have fun. It goes by fast.
Mackenzie was, and only because we want somebody else to fill Mackenzie's shoes when she leaves. Mackenzie was the first ambassador with exceptional needs for MNPS, Metro Nashville Public Schools. But we wanted them to know that how hard we're working for Mackenzie not to be the last one that actually represents the school.
How do you think schools, agencies, or communities can support family members during this time?
constantly continue to keep in touch with them. I get emails every day from the just from all type of administrators. Like from the principal, I get them sometimes. I don't even know. I think the library sent
Miss Jefferson. We have a parent facilitator. Her name is Miss Jefferson, and she's wonderful. Miss Jefferson calls us at least, like he said, 2 to 3 times a week. We have Zoom meetings to talk about what they can do to help us out. They're actually having a clothing drive. And to make sure that they could give parents clothing, hats and gloves and shoes. And also they were taking lunches to students that could not come and physically pick up their lunch. They were delivering them. So I can honestly say that the amazing Whites Creek went above and beyond just the education. They also made sure that the basic needs were taken care of.
I have seen throughout this that our schools are awesome in the way they're supporting our families with food. The way that they've had meals for families and the way that they do the check-ins. And even today we went virtual for today and tomorrow. And I talked to my daughter about this because every class, it's like you have to check in. They're using this as kind of a catch-up time and a move forward. But it's like you have to check in because they are checking on who checked in. And if you don't check in, they're following up. Where are you? Are you okay? Do you have any needs? They've got these, list of questions they ask. And it has been awesome what our school system here, and I just think across our nation, that structure, what it has meant to our nation, to our families, to our kids, it's kept us going in a time where everybody had to stop. So I'm just kind of overwhelmed with what our school systems have done. But when I think about what else might I say as a parent of a child with a disability, when you come home to do your schooling, especially at the high school level, we started out in person, and the first thing they did the first week was they gave every student a Chromebook, and in their classrooms, they're practicing logging in, they're practicing open up your Google Classroom, they're practicing, how you load the Google Docs, all those pieces. But I wasn't in that classroom. So when he comes home virtual, that's up to me, and I have no idea. And I've felt all along, as I said, his sister's also in high school. So we have a resource in our home that can fill in that. But I think that tech piece, to think about the parents maybe of grade school or even middle school, I have to think there was more communication. What do you do when you come home? That at the high school level, don't forget, we're going to need that extra bit of information that otherwise you're just handing to students. So that was the main thing I thought of on top of everything else that they're doing.
One thing that we mentioned before that has been good for Abigail is, especially with church, she has a group of girls that she associates with, and they have done some Zoom meetings as well through church. So
it's by my Aunt Jess.
Her Aunt Jess leads the meetings. So every Wednesday night, Abigail knows exactly when those Zoom meetings are going to happen. And every Wednesday night, she's got her phone and she says, "Oh, I got to go to my Zoom meeting." So she does not miss those meetings, let me tell you. So Abigail goes and she does her Zoom meeting with her friends that way. They can all see each other on the phone. And so that's been very good. The technology, I think, is probably key because, and I'll just tell you, these kids nowadays, even with a physical or mental challenge, they know how to use these iPads and these iPhones and these computers much better than I do. Abigail, I learned things. Abigail teaches me something all the time on the iPad or iPhone. And I'm like, how do you do that? And she showed me how to do it. So the technology has been wonderful. I can't imagine going through a pandemic like we've been through and not have the technology that we've had today. So technology is one thing that I think that educators have really done a good job with. We watch the news and listen to things across the state, and I think educators across the state of Tennessee have really done a good job with using technology to help our kids. And so I salute everybody out there that's watching this video, and we appreciate the effort that you all put forth to make sure that our kids still get an education and still can do things while this pandemic is going on.
Do you have suggestions on how to communicate effectively with families when we're learning and working remotely?
Really, it's the same theme, and it's interesting because it all ties to the whole idea of an individualized education program. Everything is individual. And I know the schools did, very quickly start trying to take every IEP and come up with, they call it a continuous learning plan, which was kind of confusing because every LEA had a continuous learning plan. But student by student to look at how are we going to do virtual for this student with their therapies and their supports and their one-on-ones. And then just that communication, and it really has to be individual to the parents. Some are going to be savvy with text or email, and some are going to need a phone call to make it specific to your student and your situation. And then I think in the messaging, the schools are great. They send out the messages, but often those messages are countywide, and they don't necessarily apply student-wide to the exceptions. And so it's just how you kind of communicate that this communication may not apply to you. And so on the front end, to kind of know where am I and what communications should I kind of say, okay, that's good for one of my kids, but I've got another plan for the other. So again, just that specific when necessary of what applies to my family.
Reaching families that might be a little difficult to reach, that's a hard subject no matter if you're in a pandemic or not. We have, through our organization, Abigail's Plan, where we have a baseball league for kids with disabilities. We have some folks that are very difficult to get in touch with and stay in touch with. And so even this virus just makes that just even that much harder to do. But one thing that we can do is we can use our technology that we have. Most people now have a cell phone, some type of cell phone. It may not be a smartphone, but people have some type of cell phone that they can get a text with. I think texting is probably just one of those things that
Donna or Megan.
That's right. Mom calls Donna or Megan in Georgia, don't she? Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of texting. So I think we use with Abigail's Plan, we use texting, and we make sure that all of our players and all of the coaches and all of the parents of the players are able to receive a text. We have out of over 100 players, and when we say 100 players, then you got to double that because you got 2 parents per player, and then you got grandparents that are guardians and things like that. So we have only probably about 2 or 3 that do not receive text or do not receive things like technology, things like that. So what we do is we make accommodations for that. Every time we send out a message, we know exactly who cannot get that text or that message electronically, and we try to pick up the phone and just call them and talk to them. So I think that one great thing that if I had a suggestion of educators or anything or anybody in the professional field is if you have someone that you have a hard time communicating with because of technology issues or other logistical issues, just basically the way we do with Abigail's Plan, work with that person and say, okay, look, just be honest with them. Say, look, I want to be able to get in touch with you. I want to help you. And how is the best way for me to be able to help you? How can I communicate with you? How can I get in touch with you the best way? And if you make it in a positive way, if you have that talk in a positive way, but very, very directly, then most of those folks, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, here's a cell phone number. I'm not on this one all the time, or this one does not get service all the time, but if you'll call this number here and call me instead of texting me, then I'll know that I'm getting the message. So just working with folks and finding out how they communicate the best, and then following through with that communication, I think is the key.
Honesty, and being honest and candid about everything. And just the main thing is that how responsible you have to be as a parent and as an individual and your child. Like during these times right now, the responsibilities of everybody is very important. There's no passing the buck right now. So that's just from my perspective. Yeah.
Two things that I could say also that one, the academy coach, which is Mrs. Littlejohn, she's over the ambassadors. She never just said, okay, we're gonna do this. She always asked beforehand, how are you all doing?
Yes.
How are you doing mentally, physically? Is there anything I can do for you? Miss Jefferson is the same way. When she comes on with the parents, the first thing she asks the parents are, how are you all today? Is there anything that the school can do to help assist you? It's not that the students are not turning in the work. They don't start with that, anything negative. It's always about your well-being. Let's take time to talk about your well-being, and then we'll go further.
And can you share an example of a virtual event, meeting, or interaction that was helpful to you this year?
Oh, it's kind of a broken record, but my, we call him support coordinator that is assigned to each student. And James's support coordinator has just been great at talking to me on the phone. When we went virtual the first time, she went and talked to all the teachers, and then she and I got together to say, okay, in science class, we're going to do this, and this is how he'll send James his, responsibilities. And in math class, he's going to send you 10 sets of homework for you to just print them all and then work as we have days off. And so she just really went through his whole curriculum to figure out what each piece looked like teacher by teacher. Because even though the IEP had a plan, each teacher then implements how that fits into their mode of teaching. And so that very personal instruction was so helpful. So we kind of know what to do, just so we keep moving. I don't want to be home doing nothing. I want him to keep moving. And they've done a really good job.
I'm going to use the example of, I'm going to give one and he's going to give one. I'm going to give one about ECF choices. ECF choices, they just took off running. I mean, they usually come to your home. Instead of coming to your home, they started making phone calls where they called you every 2 weeks to check on you, just to see if you were okay and to see if you needed anything. Not only that, they started having Zoom sessions where we would get together. The parents would get together, and then sometimes the students would get together, and they would just talk about. We would do fun things. We would play games sometimes. They would bring somebody in from the outside, like best buddies, or somebody to teach us about voting, what our voting rights are. They made sure during this time that we knew that we were not alone, that we knew that they were here to support us, and that they understood, and they wanted to hear they were concerned about how we felt.
Yeah, and mine is Jessica Port. When I came home one day and I was like, well, okay, I saw some grips on the pancake spatula, and I was like, well, okay. So she was like, well, okay, we had a Zoom and Mackenzie making pancakes, and Mackenzie able to flip pancakes. Me and Mackenzie actually was able to use that same method that she learned on Zoom and cook pancakes together. And she was able to flip them and was able to be more engaged in the kitchen. She's always been engaged in the kitchen anyway, but now she's actually physically getting involved and being able to work through her practice and everything is amazing. And that's what I try to look for with Mackenzie is how is she coming along physically too, because we know nothing's wrong with her mentally, but physically she's coming along great. And it's because of those Zoom meetings, because of the OT.
But I mean, just thinking outside the box, never just saying, well, I don't know what we're going to do. It was always, look, let's have a meeting. We're going to come up with a plan. It's not, we're not in school, so we're going to use the home. And that's what we've done. And we've worked on a lot of self-help skills. So I have to give kudos to Miss Jessica and to Miss Sarah, who's her speech pathologist. They really thought outside the box.
Yes, and another thing that we've done as well is with medical, with doctors. Instead of going to the doctor, all of us have appointments. Abigail has had, her heart appointment. We had to call and cancel and some other appointments, but we have been able to do some of those appointments virtually as well. We've been able to call them and speak with them either on video or by phone. And, everybody has a little bit more forgiveness as far as getting a signature or anything like that now in this pandemic. But healthcare for our folks that have disabilities or have a mental or physical challenge, they have to go to the doctor. They have to get medicine. I know Abigail has to take Synthroid every day. Her thyroid doesn't work correctly. So we have to be in communication with our healthcare providers to be able to get her the medicine that she needs on a daily basis. And that's one thing where we've been able to use Zoom and we've been able to use other forms of technology to be able to have those appointments, even though we didn't want to drive to Nashville and risk getting the virus going in a doctor's office that way. But hey, praise Jesus, we haven't been to a point to where we just have an emergency and had to go or anything like that.
If you got a family emergency.
Right, we haven't had a family emergency lately, so that's a good thing. we don't like those family emergencies, do we? No, we don't like those.
I want to thank all our panelists, both from last year and this year, for sharing their experiences and their advice on how to collaborate effectively with families. Even in the midst of a very challenging year, I loved hearing some of the silver linings they discussed and the new skills acquired. I hope what they shared resonated with all of you. And I just wanted to close by thanking you for attending today's conference and for everything that I know each one of you does to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. I hope you enjoy today and the rest of the conference, and we hope you come away feeling equipped and empowered to provide exceptional transition services and supports for youth with disabilities.